This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. And we know what Friday's show always is. It's always time to make our picks for the weekend's games. Super Bowl time. Pats or Eagles? I'm going to be talking about that for the first segment. Second segment, we'll be talking about the NBA games from last night. Going to talk a bit about Blake Griffin's debut. Got a chance to watched most of it, and he looked pretty, actually. Yeah, you know what? He was the best player out there, and I'm going to say what I have to say about him for the next segment. We'll be talking about the Hall of Fame in the third segment, talk about the players that are up, talk about who's going to get picked up, or who's going to be picked for the Hall of Fame, and talk about Terrell Owens. All right, we'll be talking about him. And then for the fourth segment, as we always do, we're going to be talking about anything going on in the world of sports, whether it be soccer or just whatever comes to mind, you know? So let's get into it right now. So we got the Pats versus the Eagles. And by the way, I don't know if anyone got a chance to catch that 30 for 30 documentary by ESPN yesterday with Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells. I watched it. I was really enjoying it too. Really liked it. It was kind of weird. You never really see Bill Belichick talk that much. Like, just talk about his life. Or at least his coaching life, you know? It was pretty weird. But Bill Belichick seems like a nice guy when he's not talking to the press. But other than that, I mean, yeah, it was a good documentary. Really enjoyed it. And I think I learned a couple of things, but nonetheless, I thought it was pretty good. And Bill Parcells, he was like the Bill Belichick before Bill Belichick, I guess you could say. But it's kind of weird because it's like watching those two sit next to each other, it's like Bill Parcells is like the main guy in that room. Like, he's the big guy. But you think about the fact, too, that Bill Belichick has way more Super Bowl wins than Parcells does. I think Parcells has 2, Belichick has 5. So, I mean, that's just 3 more. But nonetheless, I mean, it's difficult to win 3 Super Bowls as a coach. So, yeah, it was just kind of weird, just the kind of dynamics of it. Just seeing Bill Parcells sit next to Bill Belichick, and you're thinking, wow, Bill Parcells, like, that's a better coach than Belichick. But then you remember, nope, he's not. Bill Belichick's the greatest of all time. So that's what I thought about that. But here we are now for the Super Bowl. We got Nick Foles versus Tom Brady. Eagles wide receiving corp versus the Patriots secondary. Gronk versus the linebackers and safeties, and you know how it all else goes. I'm really torn on who I want to pick for this game. Still, as of right now, as I'm talking, do not know who I'm about to pick. I think it's just going to be pretty much me talking about what can go well in the game, what each team needs to do, and then after that, I'll make my pick there. But I mean, as far as making the pick, it's like the Eagles have a really great team all around. All right, they're pretty solid at every position. Nick Foles has been doing his job, playing well. And then it's like on the other side, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady really, I mean, how can you bet against Tom Brady? That's what I did in the AFC Championship game by picking the Jags. And sure enough, Tom Brady just did what he always does. I mean, I'm not sure what to do as far as this pick. I'm really torn. There's reasons why the Eagles can win, and then there's about a couple of reasons why the Patriots can win. But those couple of reasons why the Patriots could win are probably some of the biggest factors in Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So it's just this game is weird, all right? Because the Eagles are underdogs, and everyone's talking about them as like the big underdogs and all that. But you could tell that people aren't expecting it to be like a blowout or anything like that. Like how they expected the game to be against Jacksonville between the Patriots. And I'm not saying that was going to be a blow, but everyone's expecting the Patriots to pretty much win with ease, and it wouldn't be much of a problem. And that's not really I don't think that's much of the case here. I think people expect the Patriots to win, but they're expecting like a really close game. And I think that's what it's going to. I'm not sure. Do I think it's going to be a close game, or do I think the moment's going to be big for Nick Foles? I don't know. It's tough right here. Because if you look at it, obviously, we've all come to know that one of Tom Brady's biggest weaknesses, how you beat him, is putting pressure on him. All right, defensive line gets past the offensive line. You're knocking him down at least if you're not sacking him. And I saw a stat last week, I believe it was, and it was talking about the league average passer rating for quarterbacks under pressure, and it was like 85, 84 point something. And then Tom Brady's, I believe, again, this isn't exact numbers or anything like that. I'm just estimating it now because I can't remember since I saw it last week. But Tom Brady's numbers under pressure was like 96.7 for his passer rating, or it was like 96.7, I think, something around there. And I was thinking, like, wait, he's supposed to struggle when that happens. So that was just one number like I saw that kind of just jumped out at me because you don't really expect Tom Brady to do too well under pressure, being knocked down. But nonetheless, he's been handling it extremely well this season. And I know that during the regular season, I talked a lot about how Tom Brady's play was starting to dip. But, I mean, the guy finished second in passing touchdowns, first in passing yards, and only threw like 8 picks, I think it was, or something around there. So, I mean, maybe, yeah, he's not throwing 40 touchdowns anymore, throwing for near 5,000 yards or anything like that. But the guy comes in and week out and still dominates the league. So, maybe you just got to learn to respect it a little bit more. But nonetheless, I mean, as far as the Super Bowl goes, like, the Super Bowl this week has just been kind of weird as far as the Super Bowl. It's not even like, hasn't even been a top 2 story this week. All right, as far as sports goes, one of the biggest stories was Blake Griffin getting traded to the Pistons. I'll put that as number 1. And then Alex Smith getting traded to Washington, I feel got more coverage than the Super Bowl did. And I might be just thinking about ESPN. I'm not sure really what Fox Sports has been doing, but I just don't think that it's been like a big deal, the Super Bowl. Like, it hasn't been, like, it doesn't feel like a Super Bowl week. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't have like that big game feel, you know? That's like kind of ironic considering like the media outlets. You got Philadelphia media, sports media out there, Boston sports media out there. Some of the biggest media outlets out there, just pretty much media areas. And still, like, the game just really isn't being covered enough. All right, there wasn't really much hype around NFL Media Day or anything like that. So it's just been kind of odd how it's all going. And the way it feels right now, it feels like the ratings are going to be kind of low for the Super Bowl. Obviously, they'll be higher than pretty much anything else that day. But nonetheless, I mean, it's not going to be how it was the last couple of years. I don't think that has to do with anything like with the protests or anything like that. I'm not sure if it just has to do with the fact that the game's in Minnesota or it's just Nick Foles versus Tom Brady. But nonetheless, it's been kind of odd. So let's talk about the game a bit, all right? Let's talk about the Eagles versus the Patriots, the game itself. So we got Nick Foles, and he's been playing really well in the playoffs so far, all right? I'll give him that. Didn't expect it. Honestly, I just didn't expect it at all. Didn't think he'd play well. I thought they'd get bounced in the divisional round. All right? But nonetheless, here they are. Why are they here? Because Doug Peterson has found a way to adjust that offense to Nick Foles' strengths and pretty much relied on the defense, too, to come up with stops. Defense, I believe, in the 2 games that they played in the playoffs, they gave up 7 to Minnesota. How much did they get to the Falcons? I think it was 10. So they've only given up like 17 points, I think. And that's just off the top of my head. So far in these 2 games, I mean, you're only giving up 7 and 10 points week in and week out, then you're going to have all the chances in the world to win. But it's going to be difficult. I'm not sure really how this defense is going to be able to handle Tom Brady. I don't think you're keeping Tom Brady to 10 points or less. I'm not even sure if you give him to 14 or less. This is going to be a game right here where Nick Foles needs to replicate what he did against the Vikings. He has to. All right, this isn't going to be a game where the defense is going to limit them the entire time, and it's going to be hard for them to score points. All right, I believe Tom Brady's going to go out here and pretty much light it up, honestly, if we're being real here. I understand that defense wins championships, but, I mean, Tom Brady, I don't know. Tom Brady is like the exception to that rule. All right, so just now going into it, I mean, like I said, Nick Foles needs to go for at least 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not 3 touchdowns, I guess, because you can get some on the ground, but he's got to lead him down the field constantly. All right, it's going to be interesting to see how Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith match up with Stephon Gilmore, Malcolm Butler. Stephon Gilmore's been having himself a nice little postseason. So is Alshon Jeffrey. Torrey Smith showed up a bit in that last game against the Vikings, so going to be interesting to see how that works out. Then you got Rob Gronkowski, who's going to be playing in this one. What's the Eagles' game plan for Gronk? I'm not sure. All right, are your linebackers quick and strong enough to keep up with a guy like that, or are you going to need to throw safety on him like a guy like Malcolm Jenkins possibly to keep up with Gronk? I'm not sure what they do, all right, because, I mean, Jacksonville last week, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, they did well to contain Gronk before he got his concussion, all right? Gronk wasn't really doing much, but, I mean, as soon as he goes down, Danny Amendola gets in and takes his spot, and boom, Danny Amendola plays well. What are they going to do to keep up? What is the defense going to do in order to keep Danny Amendola from pretty much producing in this game. The guy's been lights out against the Titans and Jags. And I was surprised against the Jags, too. I didn't think he was going to be able to do much against that secondary, but he was beating the safeties to the spots and getting everywhere he needed to be. So, I mean, it was really interesting to see that. And as far as the Eagles running the ball, I think that Jerry Jeudy is going to have himself a nice little game on the ground, too. I think he's going to go for at least, like, total yards, he's going to go for at least over 100. He's probably going to have around 80, 85 yards rushing the ball. And I think he's going to be a big factor out as far as the backfield goes, pass catching. So it's going to be interesting to see there. So there's a lot of intriguing matchups as far as how it all ends up. Then there's the coaching aspect of Bill Belichick versus Doug Peterson. All right, Doug Peterson isn't a scrub by any means. Doug Peterson is probably one of the best coaches in the league, obviously behind Bill Belichick, because that's the best coach of all time. But it's going to be a nice little interesting chess match between the two and see how they adapt to each other's game plans. All right, this game is just, I'm not sure what to think of it right now. Like, this is just a weird Super Bowl. Okay, because like I said, it's Tom Brady versus the Eagles team. If Tom Brady plays well, then everyone else benefits, but the Eagles as a team need everyone to do their job. And I know that kind of doesn't make sense, but just think about it for a sec, all right? So the Eagles don't have that one player who can go out and make everyone around him better. That's kind of like a Carson Wentz, all right? That's what he did, okay? The Eagles pretty much, they're a team that each player is good enough to where they can do their job and they don't need to make anyone else around them better because you have great players at every position pretty much, at least solid players. Tom Brady, let's say Tom Brady wasn't to play in this game, okay? The Patriots would be just lost, I feel. All right, they'd be in shambles if Brian Hoyer had to come out and play in this game. But with Tom Brady out there, the Patriots look like one of the best teams in the league. He's the glue that keeps everything together. All right. He's able to put the ball where no one else can get it besides his receivers. All right. He's able to keep the defense on their toes. You can't stack the box against them. So he's able to have guys like Deion Lewis break out for a bunch of yards as far as rushing the ball. And then on defense, I mean, Tom Brady's on the field for most of the game. Defense doesn't have to be out there for too much, so they're pretty much rested and ready to go every single time. So Tom Brady pretty much affects everything that goes on within the Patriots team. And like I said, I mean, the Eagles, you need them to be like a cohesive unit. You need everyone doing their job pretty much. And I know I'm kind of being a little broken record right here, but I'm just trying to help myself understand where I want to go as far as this pick, because I still don't know what I want to do. All right, and I'm kind of leading right now towards New England, but there's reasons to where, you know what, I'm like, ooh, Philly, that's a great team right there. All right, I've been picking, as far as my picks so far this postseason, I've been going defense, all right? Let's see, I picked Jacksonville against the Steelers. I picked Minnesota against the Saints. I should have picked Philly against the Falcons, but I did pick the Falcons against the Rams, so I got that one right. But nonetheless, I mean, this is tough, man. I have no clue. Me making this pick is still, I'm not even comfortable with it or anything like that. It's just kind of interesting. This is going to be one of the weirdest Super Bowls. Because you know what? This Super Bowl, I think, is going to be close. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's just a blowout and New England is out there just doing whatever they want. The Eagles haven't been to the Super Bowl since, 2004, 2005, I believe. And, this team just hasn't been in that spot. I mean, you got guys like Chris Long, who's on the Eagles now, played with the guys like Chris Long and LeGarrette Blount. All right, they were with the Patriots last season, so they know what it's like to win a Super Bowl. So I mean, that experience right there might help the team. But I mean, as far as everything else, I mean, no one's really been there before, I feel. So I think I got to go with the experience in this one. I'm leaning with the Patriots in this one right now. X's and O's, I think the Eagles are the better team, and I think they match up the best with the Pats. And logically, like I said, just as far as X's and O's goes, that's where you pick the Eagles. But as far as being here before, just pretty much the experience, knowing what to do and knowing not to fold under pressure, you got to go with the Pats, right? I mean, look at last year. Pats were down 28-3 in the second half, down by 25 points. All right, and I'm sorry, Falcons fans, for bringing it up, but the Patriots didn't flinch at all in that game. All right. You see guys like Tom Brady after it, Bill Belichick saying they weren't worried. They knew what they had to do. They knew how to do it. So that's why, you know what, I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. Yesterday on the fantasy football podcast, I picked the Eagles, But I got to go with the Patriots. I just convinced myself to go with the Patriots in this one. They're the most experienced team. You got Tom Brady out there, and they know you got Bill Belichick, and everyone knows what it takes. All right? This is just a case of the Eagles getting here maybe too early or just being not experienced enough. All right? I would much like a Philly win, but I just don't see it happening. I'm going with the Pats. Brady's probably going to win, his 6th Super Bowl? It's going to be ridiculous. So, yeah, I got the Pats winning this game. All right, that's how I think that's going to go. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the NBA games from yesterday. Going to talk about Blake Griffin. I'm going to talk about the Nuggets knocking off the Thunder and all the other games that went through yesterday. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that first segment, talked a bit about we spent the whole segment talking about the Super Bowl. Made my picks for it. I went with the Pats. I mean, it could go either way, but like I said, I have to stick with the experience. I have to stick with the team that's been there before. So I went with the Pats, and I think Tom Brady's going to be winning his 6th Super Bowl ring this weekend. All right, but for this segment, we're going to be moving over to the NBA. We're going to be talking about each of the games from last night, giving up the scores and stats, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Blake Griffin and the Thunder. All right, so let's get into it. Let's just start off with the Grizzlies and Detroit Pistons game, all right? So Memphis went into Detroit, and Detroit won that one, 104-102. For Memphis, you had Dylan Brooks with 13 points, 4 rebounds, shot 5 of 11, 2 of 5 from the three-point line. Marc Gasol, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 of 21 from the field, 1 of 8 from the three-point line. Not a great game from him. Then you had Wayne Selden with only 7 points, shot 2 of 9, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. And then Andrew Harrison had a pretty nice game. He had 18 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 6 of 14 from the field, and 1 of 5 from the three-point line. And as for the Pistons, you had Reggie Bullock with 15 points, shot 5 of 10, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. Stanley Johnson, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 12 shooting, 2 of 8 from the three-point line. Andre Drummond, 14 points, 15 rebounds, 7 of 15 shooting. Ish Smith, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 of 8 from the field. And then Blake Griffin, best player on the court by far yesterday. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 12 shooting, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. All right, so I was very intrigued as far as this game because I wanted to see how Blake Griffin would fit in with Andre Drummond and see what they'd be able to do. And Blake Griffin, I mean, he makes that team better when he's on the court. When Blake Griffin's not on the court, Detroit is a pretty bad team. I think that's why the game was so close. Because when Blake Griffin was out there, I mean, Detroit was pretty much doing whatever they wanted. But for the time when he wasn't, I mean, Memphis pretty much did whatever they wanted. So it was pretty much the only reason why Detroit ended up winning this game was because Blake Griffin was out there. I like the way Blake Griffin was playing, right? He was taking the ball down the court a bit, and he was being a nice little facilitator too. He was finding guys open, and he was getting the ball to Andre Drummond. Pretty much, I liked how that little 1-2 combo right there worked too. I mean, as far as him and Drummond, both weren't trying to be too selfish. Both weren't trying to be too unselfish. It was like the perfect mixture, all right? Like I said, Blake Griffin would look for Drummond. Drummond would look for Griffin. And one of Griffin's, one of the best things about Griffin in that game yesterday was his ability to drive in and pretty much draw the foul. All right, Blake Griffin went to the line, I think, like 6 times in the first quarter and just pretty much got there constantly throughout the game. Did whatever he wanted against that Grizzlies defense, all right? Whether it be him on the three-point line driving in or him posting up. I mean, the Grizzlies really had no answer for it. So I really like the way Blake Griffin played, and he pretty much showed that he is one of the better players in the league yesterday if you watch that game. Because, I mean, a new team, pretty much new system to learn and all that, he still goes out there and pretty much, like, it wasn't, like, there weren't any, like, how should I say, any lapses or anything like that as far as the offense. It flowed pretty well, and Blake Griffin did well to pretty much keep everyone involved and pretty much keep them all as a cohesive unit. I really like the way he played. And like I said, he's got to the line a bunch. Detroit, as it is right now, still aren't ready to compete with pretty much any of the top 5 teams in the East, top 4 teams in the East. You could tell that even though Blake Griffin played extremely well and Andre Drummond played well, and that's another thing too. I think Blake Griffin can make Andre Drummond a whole lot better than what he is right now. And Andre Drummond is an all-star already, but Blake Griffin can pretty much elevate what Drummond does too, I feel. Since now you got to worry about Griffin, and Griffin has the peace of mind to, you know what, these guys are coming at me tough. That's going to leave Andre Drummond with some easy matchups, so I'm going to get the ball to him. So expect Andre Drummond to do well. But like I said, I mean, right now the Detroit Pistons still aren't much in the East. I mean, they're a fringe playoff team, if that, even with Griffin and Drummond. So they still need to go out and get themselves a point guard or someone else, maybe a shooting guard like Rodney Hood. I've been seeing his name thrown around because I think that listening to the game yesterday, it sounded like that the Detroit commentators and pretty much everyone like surrounding Detroit, the team, it feels that Reggie Jackson, once he comes back, is going to be the point guard for that team, and he's going to fill that hole right there. So if they're going with Reggie Jackson as the point guard, maybe go out and, like I said, get a guy like Rodney Hood. But nonetheless, I like the way the Pistons played yesterday. Really fun game to watch. Then we had the Toronto Raptors facing off with the Washington Wizards, and believe it or not, the Washington Wizards knocked off Toronto 122 to 119. For Toronto, we had Serge Ibaka with 16 points, 3 rebounds, shot 7 of 11, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. Jonas Valanciunas with 17 points, 3 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 7 of 8, 2 of 2 from the three-point line. Kyle Lowry, good game from him, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 10 of 19, 4 of 11 from the three-point line. And then DeMar DeRozan had 23 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 7 of 17, and didn't hit a 3 in that one. As for the Wizards, you had Markieff Morris with 15 points, 7 rebounds, shot 4 of 10. Otto Porter Jr., 16 points, 11 rebounds, shots, had 6 assists, 6 of 11 shooting. Marcin Top, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 5 of 8 shooting. Then you had Bradley Beal with 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Not the greatest shooting night. Shot 9 of 20 from the field, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. And then off the bench, you had Mike Scott with 14 points, 4 rebounds, shot 6 of 9. Wizards have really impressed me. They've had 2 games against two good teams, I say. One really good, one good team. Good team being Oklahoma City and the really good team being Toronto without John Wall, and they've managed to win both of them. I've been really impressed, especially with Otto Porter stepping up. He's been pretty bad the last month and a half, I feel, but with John Wall coming out, I mean, I'm not sure if that's what he needed or, I mean, he just was slumping, but nonetheless, he's had a couple of good games. Bradley Beal's a nice little leader with John Wall out, leading the team by showing the team how to do it by example. I mean, pretty much scoring in the high 20s the last couple of games, so I really like what the Wizards have done. But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to sustain this right now. And I could be wrong. I mean, they could possibly just be able to sustain it, finish as a 5th or 4th seed. But nonetheless, I think there's going to become a point where this team is hurting for John Wall and they need him, and he's not going to be able to be out there because he's out for 2 months. So it's going to be interesting to see. But it's a nice little sign of encouragement for the Wizards for them beating these 2 teams in Oklahoma City and the Raptors back-to-back without John Wall. So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. And as far as the Raptors go, I mean, I wouldn't sweat this loss too much. I mean, it's a long season, but nonetheless, I mean, the Raptors are going to have to go out and beat these teams just because they need to show what kind of team they are in the East. No one's really giving them too much respect, I've seen. All right, the Raptors, yeah, they're the second best team in the East. At least they're the second seed in the East, but everyone's still thinking it's going to be Cavs, Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Raptors pretty much got to go out and beat these bad teams to show that, you know what? Yeah, we belong up there, and it should be it should be Raptors, Celtics rather than people thinking about the Cavs. And I'm saying Raptors, Celtics instead of like Raptors or Cavs or anything like that because of right now. If the season ended today, the Raptors and Cavs would be playing each other in the Eastern Conference semifinals if it came down to it. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. But the Raptors eventually got to find a way to develop some form of respect amongst their peers as far as respecting them. Because, like I said, I mean, no one's really thinking of the Raptors too much. When you think of the top teams in the league, you go the Rockets, the Celtics, the Warriors, the Spurs, and the Cavs, I guess you could say still. No one really puts the Raptors in that category. They're more of like a second-tier team everyone thinks about. So eventually they're just going to have to pretty much step up. And, I mean, it's not even their fault either. All right, it has to do more with, I'm not sure if it's just because they're based in Toronto or they're just not a team who will get you, like pretty much get you views or anything like that as far as talking about them. All right, you got ESPN out here putting out articles hypothetically talking about how LeBron could have a meeting with the Warriors if they did a bunch of other things, which is not going to happen, but nonetheless, it's a story that's going to create views and clicks. So, I mean, the Raptors got to just pretty much do their thing and keep pretty much, like I just said, just win. Eventually, the respect is going to come. As for the next game, we had the Milwaukee Bucks facing off with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves won this one 108-89. From Milwaukee, you had John Henson with 14 points, 8 rebounds, shot 5 of 9. Giannis Antetokounmpo with 17 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 6 of 14. Not a great game from Giannis there. I mean, he did have 17 points, 15 rebounds, but I mean, as far as his standards, you expect a little bit more from him. So I guess you can consider this like an average game from Giannis. And that's crazy because I said he had 17, 15, and 6. Chris Middleton, he had 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 7 of 20, 2 of 7 from the three-point line. Malcolm Brogdon only played 10 minutes in this one. Not sure if he got hurt. Didn't have a chance to check this one out. But yeah, he only played 10 minutes, 4 points, 2 of 3 shooting. Tony Snell got the start in this one. He played 29 minutes, 1 of 9 shooting, 0 of 6 from the three-point line, only 2 points in this one. As for the Timberwolves, you had Taj Gibson with 9 points, 6 rebounds, shot 4 of 7. Andrew Wiggins, just a poor game from him. 7 points, 6 rebounds, 3 of 10 shooting. Karl Anthony Towns, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 10 of 13. Finally, he getting out there and taking a bunch of shots as he should be. Karl Anthony Towns should be at least getting anywhere from 10 to 15 shots a game, even a little bit more than that. He needs to start dominating more, start asserting himself as the top dog on that team. Jeff Teague, he had 9 points, 8 assists, shot 4 of 7, 1 of 2 from the three-point line. And then Jimmy Butler, 28 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 8 of 15 from the field, and then 2 of 5 from the three-point line. Played 40 minutes in that one, so nice little game from Jimmy Butler there. I mean, the Timberwolves, I like this win from them right here. This is the games you got to go out and win. Milwaukee's a tough game, but they're a lesser team than the Timberwolves, and you got to go out and beat these lesser teams like the Raptors should have against the Wizards. But nonetheless, I like what the Minnesota Timberwolves did. They're currently 33-22. Not sure where they are right now in the standings. They should probably be. Let me double check right here where they're at. I think they're probably number 4 in the West. Let's see. They are currently, number 4 in the West, about a game and a half up on Oklahoma City, and 2.5 games back of the Spurs. So, actually a game and a half back of the Spurs, I should say. So, I mean, they're probably going to end up in that 4th spot. Maybe they'll switch with the Thunder if the Thunder figure out, just pretty much pick it up as far as going forward. But, I mean, either way, I think it'll be Thunder and Timberwolves facing off in that first round in the Western Conference playoffs. All right, next game up, we had the Houston Rockets facing off with the San Antonio Spurs, and the Rockets won this one 102-91. All right, you had Ryan Anderson with 13 points, 3 rebounds, shot 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Luke Mbamute with 9 points, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 10, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. Clint Capella with 14 points, 13 rebounds. Chris Paul in this one had 10 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 5 of 14, 0 of 3 from the three-point line. Not a great game from him. James Harden, 28 points, 11 assists, 10 of 20 shooting, 5 of 12 from the three-point line. And then off the bench, you had Gerald Green with 15 points, 5 rebounds, shot 4 of 13 from that one, 3 of 11 from the three-point line. As for the Spurs, not a great game from that team. You had LaMarcus Aldridge with 16 points, 8 rebounds. Didn't do well, didn't really get to the line at all, I feel. Didn't get to the line at all, actually. He finished the game shooting 8 of 15. Kyle Anderson had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 of 7 shooting. Paul Gasol, 20 minutes in this one, only took 1 shot, didn't hit it. It was a 3-pointer, had 6 points, though, 7 rebounds. Dejounte Murray with 6 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 3 of 6 from the field. And then you had Danny Green with 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 9 of 18, 3 of 7 from the three-point line. But Spurs really didn't get much bench production from their team. Spurs, obviously, they need Kawhi back, and I'm sure when he gets back, they'll be a whole lot better, so I wouldn't really worry about them as far as being able to compete with the Rockets or Warriors, because I think, like I said, once Kawhi gets back, they'll be able to do so. But right now, the story is, you know what? How much better are the Warriors than the Rockets? Obviously, if you had to pick one in a series, you'd still go with the Warriors unless you were crazy and went with the Rockets. But nonetheless, can this Rockets team push a series to 7 games? Possibly. I mean, James Harden's on a mission right now, trying to get that MVP award that he deserved for the last couple of seasons. I guess you can make the case for. But nonetheless, he's been playing extremely well. And even with Chris Paul not playing his best, I mean, you got James Harden stepping up for him. So it's going to be interesting to see once Chris Paul gets back to his old self and pretty much starts playing extremely well. And plus, you got to see what this team is going to do at the trade deadline, because we all know that they need depth. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season plays out for them. Then for the final game of the night, we had the Oklahoma City Thunder facing off with the Denver Nuggets in Denver. And Denver knocked off the Thunder 127-124. For the Thunder, you had Carmelo Anthony with 10 points, 4 rebounds, shot 5 of 11. Paul George, 43 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 19 to 26 shooting, 5 of 8 from the three-point line. Great game from him. Hit the game-tying 3 towards the end of the fourth quarter. Made it 24-20. And there's another guy on the Nuggets, once we're reading their stats, who hit the game winner for them. You had Russell Westbrook with 20 points, 21 assists, 9 rebounds, 7 of 18 shooting, 2 of 5 from the three-point line. Did not see that he had 21 assists. That's crazy right there. Great game from Russell Westbrook. Off the bench, we had Jeremy Grant with 18 points, 6 rebounds, shot 6 of 9 from the field. And then for the Nuggets, you had Wilson Chandler. We got the start on this one. Took 4 shots, hit one of them. Had 4 points. Nikola Jokic with 29 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists. Great game from him. Triple-double there. 11 of 18 shooting, 2 of 5 from the three-point line. And Nikola Jokic, that's a guy who needs to start getting more respect. He's a top center in this league. And he's not the flashiest player, but like I said, he deserves to have a little bit more respect. You had Jamal Murray with 33 points, 5 assists, shot 14 to 23, 5 of 8 from the three-point line. Will Barton, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 6 of 11. And Gary Harris with 25 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 to 16 shooting, 5 of 9 from the three-point line. One of those threes came at the very end of the game, hit the game winner. I was watching that play, and I mean, everyone was matched up pretty well. Thunder were keeping on their guys, and then in the paint, I think it was one of I can't remember who was out there, but unless they set a screen, and Russell Westbrook was guarding Gary Harris on the inbounds play, and then the guy sets the screen on Russell Westbrook, and he just stays there. Like, he doesn't follow Harris at all, leaves Harris all alone. Then Harris goes to like the not the corner spot, but in between the corner and the middle of the three-point line, stays there. Nikola Jokic finds him, and then it's pretty much like an open shot for Harris, hits it easily. And I don't know what Westbrook was doing on that play. All right, like, he was literally just standing around ball watching, not doing a thing. It was just ridiculous to see from him, and he got there way too late on Harris and couldn't contest the jump shot enough. People are going to go out and say that it should have been a 5-second violation too, as far as Jokic throwing in the ball, but it's not a set 5 seconds. That's not how it is. It's pretty much the ref. He moves his hand out and in, and that's how it goes as far as counting the 5. So, I mean, I get what people were saying, probably was more than 5 seconds, but unless it's up to the ref, it's not based on the time. So that's how yesterday's games went. And for the last segment, we'll be making my picks for the games going on tonight. So stay tuned. That's going to wrap it up for this segment. So next up, we're going to be talking about the Hall of Fame. We're going to be talking about Terrell Owens a bit. So like I said, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far, we've talked about the Super Bowl, made my pick for that game. I picked the Patriots. Not too sure about it, though. I think it could go either way, but I'm sticking with the Pats. Second segment, we talked about the NBA games from last night, talked about Blake Griffin's debut with the Pistons, and talked about that last play of the game with the Thunder and Nuggets game. And for this one, we're going to be talking about the Hall of Fame. NFL Hall of Fame. Who's in it? Who's got a chance at making it? And who should have been in there who should have been in there already? You guys know. All right, so the finalists right now for the Hall of Fame are Tony Boselli, Isaac Bruce, Brian Dawkins, Alan Faneca, Steve Hutchinson, Joe Jacoby, Edgerrin James, Ty Law, Ray Lewis, John Lynch, Kevin Mawe, Randy Moss, T.O., as in Terrell Owens, Brian Urlacher, Everson Walls. All right, so I think that Brian Dawkins, Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, and let's see. Those guys right there are locks to get in. But let me tell you this, all right? Terrell Owens, this is going to be a real big Terrell Owens segment right here, okay? Terrell Owens is one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, and the fact that he isn't already in the Hall of Fame is such a shame. All right, T.O. should have been in the Hall of Fame in, 2016 when he was eligible. He should have been in the Hall of Fame that year. All right, T.O. is without a doubt a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, let's see, all-time receiving yards, Terrell Owens, number 2. Let's see, all-time touchdowns among receivers, he's got the 3rd most, 5th most among all players. All right, NFL reception leaders, he is 8th all-time. Okay, Terrell Owens is without a doubt a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I don't like the fact that people aren't voting him in because of the fact that he was a locker room distraction. I get it, all right, but you know what? I bet you there's people in the Hall of Fame right now that have been locker room distractions, all right? The fact that T.O. isn't in is just ridiculous. Terrell Owens is one of the best receivers of all time, probably top 3 receiver. You can argue that he might even be the best. You know, I could probably be Jerry Rice as the best receiver of all time, maybe Randy Moss, but I mean, as far as T.O. and Randy Moss goes, you could argue that T.O. is better than Moss. All right, but no one is ever going to argue that Terrell Owens is the best receiver of all time because of the fact that he was a distraction. It makes no sense to me. Is it the Hall of Fame for pretty much how you acted in the locker room, or is it the Hall of Fame for how you acted, or is it a Hall of Fame for how you produced on the field? And I get that people like to say that the Hall of Fame, you got to be both great on and off the field and all that good stuff. But nonetheless, dude, Terrell Owens, distraction or not, should be in the Hall of Fame, and it's just ridiculous because of the fact that he's not. All right, I don't understand why whoever I think it's just like football writers that vote on it, and it makes no sense to me. Why are you going to keep Terrell Owens out? All right, yeah, the dude was a huge distraction in San Francisco. Yeah, he was a distraction in Philly. Yeah, he was a distraction in Dallas. And I think after Dallas, I mean, that was pretty much it. I don't think he was much of a distraction after that because no one really wanted him in the locker room. But nonetheless, all right, Terrell Owens, I think, is a bit misunderstood. I think that Terrell Owens pretty much loved the game so much and pretty much wasn't given a chance before he got to the NFL, I feel. To the point where he feels like he's owed something, you know? He feels like he's the best, and I completely get it. I completely get it, like I said. I mean, it makes no sense to me as to how he's not in there, all right? The dude was dominant every team he went to until after he left Dallas, and by the time he left Dallas, he was already old. The guy was in the league for, he was in the league for about 13 years at that point. Even as a wide receiver, taking all those hits, I mean, yeah, he's not a running back or anything like that, but taking those hits is going to take a toll on your body, so those last 2 years don't really matter much to me, but like I said, I mean, as far as what he did with Dallas, like he single-handedly almost won the Super Bowl for Philly. He played on a broken foot in that Super Bowl against the Patriots with Philly. All right? Tell me anyone else that would do that. All right? And I'm not sure, like, off the top of my head, I can't tell you whoever's in this in the Hall of Fame that wasn't or was a locker room distraction. I know there's people in there that have done things after that shouldn't even be in there. I'm not going to name them, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. Nonetheless, though, he's going to miss out again because people can't get it out of their heads that T.O. was a distraction and not a team player, which is ridiculous. All right? I mean, the guy is one of the best receivers of all time, and people are just going to keep him out just because they didn't like his attitude. Are you serious? All right? Randy Moss. Let's talk about him. Let's not forget the fact that Randy Moss sometimes took plays off and just didn't run his routes or just quit on the play. All right? But we're going to put him in, right? Right? It's Randy Moss, one of the best ever. Yeah, so was Terrell Owens. Oh, Randy Moss wasn't a distraction. Yeah, but he quit on plays. Let's not forget Randy Moss's time in Oakland, dude. You think he was going 100% then? Really? Let me see if we can find what Randy Moss did with Oakland. In his 2 years with Oakland, he had 60 receptions and 42 receptions. All right? Those aren't good numbers. And it's like, oh, well, Randy Moss just wasn't good enough anymore. No, because he went to the Patriots the year after, and he had 98 catches over nearly 1,500 yards and 23 touchdowns. All right? How are you going to go from 42 receptions to 553 yards to 98 receptions and nearly 1,500 yards? But that guy's going to get in, right? It's okay that he took plays off, but at least he wasn't a locker room distraction, right? Randy Moss had the same kind of attitude as T.O., but I guess you could say the only difference was Randy Moss was a whole lot more quiet than T.O. was, all right? You can't penalize a guy for being vocal, all right? It makes no sense to me how you do that. It's doing a disservice to the Hall of Fame for keeping Terrell Owens out, all right? People got to put their personal feelings aside and understand that Terrell Owens is one of the greatest to ever play this game, all right? T.O. never got into any trouble. He never got in trouble with the law, all right? Anything like that. His biggest downfall was just that he was loud. That's it. Dude was one of the hardest workers of all time in the NFL, and we all know that, all right, whether you like it or not. T.O., one of the hardest workers, all right, never really was out of shape or anything like that, never took plays off, just wanted you to throw him the ball. It's just ridiculous to see how he's not going to get in this year, and, I mean, there is a chance that he is, but I think it's a small chance that he does. I mean, it's ridiculous, honestly. Terrell Owens, just a disservice to him, to the fans, and to the Hall of Fame for him not to be in there. All right, I don't like. Are they putting Terrell Owens in timeout? Is that what the voters are doing? Oh, we're gonna put Terrell Owens. We're not gonna vote for him. We're gonna put him in timeout. Show him. Pretty much make him answer for his actions. This is the dumbest thing of all time. If you don't vote for Terrell Owens as a Hall of Famer, you don't deserve to be a Hall of Fame voter. All right. Writers are starting to make this a whole lot more about them than it is about Terrell Owens, all right? I don't care what you think of the guy. He's a Hall of Famer. If you think otherwise, then you're just flat out wrong, all right? And I understand everyone's entitled to their opinion, but this is where an opinion can be wrong. If you do not think that Terrell Owens, let alone is a Hall of Famer, let alone isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, but not a Hall of Famer at all, then just don't talk sports. Honestly, it's that frustrating to see. People really think, oh, Terrell Owens was loud and he was a distraction, so he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. That's just I gotta be nice right now, but that's just a bad statement, all right? It's a fact. It's a fact. Terrell Owens is a Hall of Famer and should be one. All right, it's a fact that he should be in there. He should have got in 2 years ago. He should have got in last year, and he should get in this year, but he's not. All right, that's all facts. I understand how facts and opinions work, and obviously in realistic terms, this is an opinion, but you get what I'm saying, all right? The fact that Terrell Owens isn't in there is just ridiculous. It's garbage, all right? The writers, whoever vote, need to realize that the guy's a Hall of Famer, all right? And this is where I don't like journalists in a way, all right? Yeah, I'm trying to become one. I'm trying to be just like those guys, but they feel too entitled to what they do. All right, they feel way too entitled, way too much power. All right, you're not out here doing anything. We're just talking sports and writing about it. We're not saving lives, putting out fires, or stopping crime. All right, in reality, we're all just people who write about sports, and that's it. We write about other people doing their jobs. All right, so these journalists got to stop feeling so entitled as far as voting for the Hall of Fame and get past their feelings and put T.O. in there. Because every year he's not is every year it's an embarrassment to the Hall of Fame. All right, and people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine, but the fact of the matter is you're wrong if you disagree. All right, I understand I'm being a bit hard-headed and closed-minded with this, and like I said, I've already admitted, yeah, T.O. was a big locker room distraction, probably one of the biggest locker room distractions ever, but nonetheless, that shouldn't take him away from being in the Hall of Fame. So, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about the NBA games going on tonight. We're going to talk about Kirk Cousins and how the Redskins didn't notify him that they were trading for Alex Smith. Give my thoughts about that and pretty much talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Today's show we talked about we made my Super Bowl pick. Talked about the game a bit, previewed it, Talked about the NBA games that went on last night. And forgot to mention that at the end of the Thunder game, too, there was a fan that came out onto the court and pretty much got in Russell Westbrook's face, was yelling at him a bit, clapped at him. Then Russell Westbrook pushed him. And I hope the NBA doesn't suspend or fine Russell Westbrook. They need to ban that fan pretty much from the arena. All right, I get that. Yeah, I mean, you might be a little excited as a fan because Gary Harris just hit a 3 in his face, and you paid a lot of money for those courtside seats. But don't go on the court and get into a player's face. Like he wasn't Ron Artest or Steven Jackson whose face he was getting into, because we don't know how that would have ended up. We've seen that before. All right, one of the greatest fan-player fights of all time, if we're being real here. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I don't like how fans feel entitled to pretty much anything in sports because they pay money. All right, you're just a fan. That's it. We're all just fans. All right. Nonetheless, I hope the NBA doesn't suspend Westbrook because he doesn't deserve it. I mean, the least he could do was push that fan off of him. So that's all I got to say about that. Also, the Boston Celtics signed Greg Monroe to a 1-year, $5 million deal. Chose Boston over the Pelicans, and I think that was the right decision. I mean, the Pelicans aren't going anywhere in the East. Right now, they're struggling. And yeah, you get to start with the Pelicans, but you have more chance of getting to the finals with the Celtics rather than with the Pelicans, obviously. I mean, like I said, the Pelicans are getting bounced in the first round, Greg Monroe there or not. And with the Celtics, I mean, I feel like they're getting to the Eastern Conference Finals either way, with him or without. So, I mean, if I'm him, yeah, it's the right decision going to Boston because you have a better chance of winning some there rather than you do with the Pelicans. He's not going to be starting with the Celtics or anything like that, but nonetheless, he's going to be a big part coming off their bench. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to bring in Tyreek Evans, too, from a trade. I really hope that they don't end up giving up Terry Rozier for him because Terry Rozier's been lights out so far this season, coming off the bench and being the backup point guard. So we'll see how it all ends up. Maybe you give up a guy like Marcus Smart or maybe a couple of young guys, not Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or anything like that, not crazy, but maybe a couple of young guys off the bench and a first-round pick. So we'll see how it all ends up for them. Let's talk Kirk Cousins for a bit. All right. Not really Kirk Cousins himself, but what people have been saying since the Redskins traded for Alex Smith. So it turns out that the Redskins traded for Alex Smith on Tuesday night and didn't tell Kirk Cousins about it till Wednesday, or Kirk Cousins didn't find out about it from the team till Wednesday morning. And now you got reporters, analysis, and all those people saying, oh, they should have let Kirk Cousins know. They should have made him aware of it. No, they shouldn't have. They don't owe that to him. Everyone knew Kirk Cousins was leaving. All right? They don't owe Kirk Cousins everything, just like Kirk Cousins doesn't owe the team anything either. No one owes anything in the world of sports. Let me tell you that. The sooner you learn that, the sooner it's going to be better for you as far as watching and understanding the game. All right? They don't owe Kirk Cousins. Tell him, oh, yeah, we traded for your replacement, so go ahead, do whatever you want. No, that's not the case at all. All right, Kirk Cousins doesn't need to know what the Redskins are doing as far as trading for his replacement, and the Redskins don't need to know what Kirk Cousins is doing as far as signing a long-term deal. I mean, if anything, you see that your team traded for Alex Smith and you're a quarterback, that means, yeah, they don't want me anymore. All right, move on, get over it. All right, it's just ridiculous that people were saying the Redskins should have let him know. They don't know that to him. He doesn't know anything to them either. So, I mean, it's just really, I don't know. I feel like everyone's really getting in the way right now, I should say. All right? Like, it's just sports media in general is kind of getting weird. I mean, you got people writing pieces on ESPN about hypothetically if the Warriors clear up all this kind of money, they could get LeBron James to come in and sit down at a table and they could try and possibly pitch hit to him how he would be a good fit there. All right? I mean, that's still ridiculous. I'm still not over that. I still can't believe ESPN put something out like that. I mean, Kevin Durant said it was BS. You got LeBron coming out today saying it was nonsense. It's just ridiculous. I mean, that was just garbage that they put out. All right? I mean, yeah, if the Sacramento Kings cleared up a bunch of money, maybe they could possibly get a meeting with LeBron James. All right? The Boston Celtics gave away Kyrie Irving and Al Horford. Maybe they could set up a meeting with LeBron James. You don't see me writing an article about it because it's not going to happen. It's a waste of time. All right? I mean, the guy yesterday, literally, who wrote the article, and yeah, I know we talked about it yesterday, but I mean, I'm still not done. All right? So you had the guy who wrote the article about the Lakers or the Warriors hypothetically possibly getting a meeting with LeBron James if they do certain stuff. You have him going on ESPN saying that it's not going to happen or anything like that. It's just a possibility that something like could, like in some wild world, could happen. I mean, how are you going to write something, talk about it hypothetically, and go out on ESPN and say, oh yeah, it's not happening? I mean, it's just ridiculous how ESPN does that now. ESPN pretty much just writes whatever they want, and it doesn't have to be factual or not. It's just if it creates a conversation and gives them something to talk about for a couple of months, and that's what they're going to do. So that's the last time I'll talk about it. All right, still kind of frustrating, but nonetheless, I don't know. So let's make our picks for tonight's NBA games. I think we got a bunch going on tonight. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, we got the Warriors and Kings going on tonight. I'll have to watch that one for sure. All right, so let's start off. We got the Pacers facing off with the Hornets. Hornets are currently 14-14 at home. Pacers currently 11-13 on the road, but the Pacers do have the better team. Kemba Walker has been playing extremely well since all the trade rumors surrounding him came out. And you know what? Because of that, I'm going to go with the Pacers because that really doesn't mean anything as far as Kemba Walker playing well. Pacers right now got the better team. You got Victor Oladipo who's been playing well. Miles Turner's been playing well. Domantas Sabonis is playing well. No one's talking about Thaddeus Young, but he's playing well. And you got Lance Stevenson coming off the bench, pretty much the wild card of that team, doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. So I like the Pacers in this one. I think they're going to be able to pull out the win. Charlotte's actually favored by 3.5 in this one, so I guess this is an upset pick for me. All right, so yeah, I got the Pacers. Then we got the Hawks. They're facing off with the Celtics in Boston. Boston's currently 19-8 at home. Hawks are currently 14-20 on the road. For the Celtics, you got no Kyrie Irving in this game, no Marcus Morris, no Gordon Hayward, obviously. And I said Gordon Hayward, I know I probably shouldn't have brought him up or whatever, because we all know. But the Celtics, literally every single time they bring out the injury report for a game, they always say Gordon Hayward's out. So that just stuck into my mind. So yeah, no Morris. Shane Larkin is questionable, and Marcus Smart is still out with a lacerated hand. So that means Terry Rozier is going to be the starting point guard in this game again. Last start he had, which was against the Knicks, I believe it was on Tuesday. He had a triple-double in his first career start. Don't think he'll be posting a triple-double in this one, but I think he's going to play well. Even without Kyrie Irving and all those other guys that are out, Celtics are by far still a better team than the Hawks. So I'm going to go with the Celtics in this one. They're favored by 7, and I'd take them. I'd take the Celtics in the points, honestly, if it came down to it. But I'm not a betting man. So I got the Celtics winning this one. I think Terry Rozier is going to play well. I think Al Horford's going to have a nice little game in this one. And then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have stepped up since Kyrie Irving's been out for these last couple of games. So we'll see how it all ends up. Plus, the Celtics bench always finds a way to step up also. So, yeah, I got the Celtics winning in this one. Then we got the Lakers facing off with the Nets. This one's in Brooklyn. No Lonzo Ball still, out with a sprained MCL, I think it is. I'm not sure who to go with in this one. The Lakers just came off of a really bad loss to the Orlando Magic. Didn't play any defense in that one. And they're not as fluid on the offensive end without Lonzo Ball. On the other hand, you got the Nets who have Spencer Dinwiddie, who's been having a really solid NBA season. D'Angelo Russell's back. Allen Crabbe drops in nice little production performances from time to time. DeMar Carroll's been putting together a nice little string of games. So I think I got to go with the Nets in this one, right? I mean, there's always the possibility of Kyle Kuzma having a big game, Brandon Ingram playing well, but I mean, as of right now, the Nets are currently playing the better basketball right now. So I'm going to go with the Nets in that one. Then we got the Portland Trailblazers facing off with the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are coming off a loss to the Washington Wizards yesterday. Lost that game by 3. Probably a game that they should have pulled out, but nonetheless, they lost. So they got the Trailblazers, all right? CJ McCollum, I think the last game he had was that one where he dropped 50 points, scored 28 in the first quarter, and I think that's not going to matter in this one, so I'm going to go with the Raptors. I think they're going to be able to bounce back this is a back-to-back game, too, for the Raptors. Do I still want to go with him then, since it's a back-to-back for them? Yeah, I'll go with the Raptors. I'll take DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry versus that Portland Trailblazers team. I mean, it could go either way. CJ McCollum could have another big game, or Damian Lillard could have a game like that too, but I feel more comfortable picking the Raptors. Right now, they're 19-4 at home. Trailblazers are currently 14-12 on the road, and the Trailblazers don't really put enough consistent performances on the table, so I'm going to go with the Raptors in this one. Then we got the Miami Heat facing off with the Philadelphia 76ers. This game's on ESPN. Ooh, got a couple of good ESPN games going on tonight. Yes, we got the Heat facing off with the Sixers in Philly. Sixers are currently 12-10 at home. The Heat are currently 16-12 on the road. The Sixers do have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, but the Heat currently have the better coach by far. All right. And plus, I like the way Miami's been playing. They're play a real good team basketball. Right? They don't really have they don't have any stars on that team. Hassan Whiteside, he had a couple of really solid years, but I mean, this season so far, he just really hasn't been what he has been the last couple of years. But he's been playing really well. You got guys like Bam Adebayo, you got Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench, being productive. Tyler Johnson puts in a nice game or two from time to time. Goran Dragic is an all-star. And, pretty much Josh Richardson's a nice little shooter. Plus, you got Wayne Ellington, a nice little sharp-shooting three-point shooter off the bench, too. So I'm going to go with the Heat in this one. They're the better team, and I don't really see them losing in this one. It's going to be a nice little game, but I'm going to stick with the Heat. Then we got the New York Knicks facing off with the Milwaukee Bucks. Turns out Malcolm Brogdon did get hurt in yesterday's game, so he's going to be out from 6 to 8 weeks. You already got Eric Bledsoe hurt, so it's going to be tough for Milwaukee going forward without those two guys, because you can't just solely rely on Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton to get you wins. So you know what? I'm going to go with the Knicks in this one. They're currently 23-29, 7-20 on the road. Bucks are currently 27-23, 17-9 at home. But I think Porzingis is going to have a nice little game right here, and the Knicks are going to be too much for the Bucks to handle with those two guys out. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Knicks in this one. Then we got the Pelicans facing off with the Thunder. Thunder coming off of a bad loss to the Denver Nuggets. Not like a bad loss, meaning they got blown out, but a loss to where, you know what, Gary Harris shouldn't have been that wide open. Russell Westbrook should have did better there. You got a Pelicans team who was trying to sign Greg Monroe. Like I said, he ended up on the Celtics. So now you have no Cousins out for the year, and you don't have a backup option in Monroe to come in and fill in for him. So, right now, I wonder if Mirotic is going to be playing in this game, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. I'm going to go with the Thunder in this one. Paul George coming off of a nice little 45-point performance. Russell Westbrook had, 25 points, 21 assists in yesterday's game. So I'm going to go with the Thunder. I think they're going to be able to pull this one out at home. Then we got the Utah Jazz. They're facing off with the Phoenix Suns. And I'm going to go with the Jazz in this one. I think they play better defense. You got Donovan Mitchell out there. Suns put up nice performances from time to time, but Devin Booker really has been kind of off this last couple of games. You've been paying attention. So I'm going to go with the Jazz in this one. I think Donovan Mitchell's going to have a nice little game in this one. All right, then for the final game, we got the Warriors facing off with the Sacramento Kings in Sacktown. This is the second game of the ESPN doubleheader. And the Kings always somehow, some way play the Warriors really tough and always pull out a win against them each season, but I don't think it's going to be tonight. I think the Warriors are going to pull out the win in this one. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green are going to be way too much. I read earlier today a tweet from one of the Sac Kings reporters saying that Dave Yeager said that the rookies were kind of starting to hit the rookie walls, and the veterans were running circles around them yesterday in practice. So, that doesn't really bode well for them going against a team like the Warriors. So, I'm going to go with the Warriors winning this one today. All right, to recap my picks, I got the Pacers beating the Hornets, the Celtics beating the Hawks, the Nets beating the Lakers, the Raptors beating the Trailblazers, the Heat beating the Sixers, the Knicks beating the Bucks, the Thunder beating the Pelicans, the Jazz beating the Suns, and the Warriors beating the Kings. All right, so that's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. Today we talked about the Super Bowl. I picked the Patriots for that one. Talked about the games from last night in the NBA. Talked about how it's disgusting that Terrell Owens is not a Hall of Famer yet. And then we talked about pretty much Greg Monroe going to the Celtics. What else? Kirk Cousins, how the Redskins don't have to notify him that they're trading for someone else. I think we talked about something else in this segment. I can't remember exactly, but nonetheless, we made my picks too. So like I said, that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back Tuesday, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.